Hi, and welcome to episode 135 of the Heartland Knits podcast. My name is Vicki, but you can find me as Heartland Knits on Ravelry and Instagram. And today is Sunday, February 7th, 2016. I kind of faltered there because I am staying Heartland Knits on Instagram, but I'm pretty sure that for Lent this year, which starts on Wednesday, I'm going to give up Instagram. So you may not see me around there for a while. Though I will probably, I don't know. I'm still thinking about doing Minnesota rules, or that's what I kind of call Minnesota rules. When I was growing up, if you gave up something for Lent, you didn't see it till Easter. It was just gone for those 6 weeks. But then when I went to school, I went to college over in Minnesota, all of my friends there who grew up there said, on Sunday, whatever you gave up, you could have, because it wasn't, you'd gone to church or whatever. Anyway, I call it Minnesota rules. So maybe just on Sundays you will see me around there. Just a heads up, if you post something and think she never comments or likes my stuff anymore, I'm just probably not going to be around there. Anyway, this is a knitting podcast, and I have a lot of stuff to show you this week. So I'm going to start out with what's on my needles, and I have new stuff to show you. Well, some of it's not like brand new stuff, but you haven't seen it in a while. And so the one thing that I've talked a little bit about that I wanted to get going and working on, and I worked on this a very little bit in January, but I really want to get going. And this is my Blue Flower bohus. So it's a top-down yoke sweater. So this is kind of where I am. I did all the fun color work stuff last August. And then I am doing these little short rows. This is the back, and then this is the front, so that you can see I'm working. There are more, rows of the white worked in the back. So I am kind of nearing the end of those. And then there is, raglan shaping at these like four corners. I have these my fun little sheep stitch markers. And so then kind of, get down to the body, and it's, kind of going to be all white. This is a kit that I bought several years ago from Sweden. My kit is dyed by Solveig Gustafsson. She has since retired, and a new woman has taken over. And so you can, and I'm pretty sure that this is available. I think all the ones that were available, plus new ones now, are available. And the website for that is angoragarnet.net. And the big change on this one is I am doing this with a white body. Originally, they were done with this a very, very, very pale blue, the same blue as that's on Blue Shimmer, which is kind of one of the iconic bohus sweaters. It's great to see kind of this big resurgence of the bohus knitting. There was a great new book that was published late last year, and then Vogue Knitting had a great big kind of issue with a lot of articles and kind of bohus type sweaters and things. So it's great to see. I think it's really my favorite, it's definitely my favorite kind of color work. Just that using the little pearl blips just elevates it kind of over regular, two color Fair Isle stranded knitting. So anyway, this is a project. I'm keeping this in my, a Tenty bag. Um, it keeps it all nice and safe and sound, and I want to get working on that a little bit kind of every day. Another project that I showed a couple weeks ago that I had cast on, I have half done. And so that is, I was going to knit a pair of mittens that were sort of wearing out, and I have one of them done. This is the bird in hand mittens. I said that and I was looking right at it. On the thumb is this little bird. And these mittens, I am using 2 colors of Ultra Alpaca. I love this so much. So here is one on. I really love how long the cuff runs on these. This pair that's worn out was knit with Ultra Alpaca too. And I know I'm kind of following along. I knit these, I bought the pattern for these. Ravelry was around, but they weren't doing like pattern sales yet, because when I went looking for the pattern, it wasn't in my Ravelry library, but I had like printed out this paper copy. So, I think it was like it was around, they just hadn't done that yet. But so I'm following along kind of just like I did these, using the same, needles, like stitch counted, needle sizes and things. I remember when I knit these that the height of the mitten, it was too short for me. And so just kind of on the fly, I, was sitting there and I kind of lengthened out, this patterning at the top of the mitten, just kind of, by eye. I didn't chart it out or anything. So when it came to doing this one, I just kind of sat with this on my lap and kind of counted. I mean, the stitch pattern on the back is just kind of alternating, rows. But on the front, I just kind of sat and counted to do the top of the mitten. And, they came out. I love how these fit. These have stretched a little bit. And I remember they gave kind of on their first wearing, and that's how these are feeling. Just a little tighter than I normally have my mittens, but I think they will give on the first wearing of them. My second one is this far along, and I have it on just one kind of shortish circular, because when I was doing, let's see, where was I? I guess I was coming up. I was doing the yarn over knit 2 togethers for the picot edge, and I went in to do a knit 2 together and my needle snapped. So I wanted to get it up past like this point, and so I have my other needle that I'm gonna send in. These are bamboo needles. I like to use bamboo needles or wood needles anytime I'm doing color work. I just think it makes everything lay nice and smoother. And it's also, wood needles are so much kinder to your hands. And after the trouble that I had with that big Bartlett Yarns kind of jacket at the end of last year, I am still just trying to be really careful and be kind, especially kind to my hands. So anyway, this is this project. And then I have one more on the needles that I'm going to show you. So sort of my focused on the needles knitting is, here I'll show you the yarn. It's out of this yarn, which comes like a wheel. It's a pencil roving. It is the Swedish wool, they call it the thin gradient. It's there's 2 kinds. And so when I'm pulling this from the middle, and it kind of opens up to a big circle, and it's a very kind of thin pencil roving. It is, excuse me, to me it feels thinner than unspun Icelandic. It feels a little thinner. It feels a little more fragile when you're working with it. Of course, it's really easy to just put back together. You really don't even need to spit splice it. It hardly needs like water. You can just put it back together and rub it together, and it goes back together. But it is more more fragile. If you do not like working with Brooklyn Tweed Loft, don't buy this, and don't, because you won't like it. It's that, I mean, I don't find unspun Icelandic difficult to work with at all. I don't, kind of do anything special, take any kind of special care. This one, I do try to really like make sure there's nothing around that will catch on it. And because if the unspun Icelandic has the Icelandic fibers are longer. So if it, pulls a little bit, it might thin down a little bit, but it's still got a lot of strength. If this thins down, doesn't have as long a fibers. And so when you come to knit with that little section, it's really thin, and then I worry about how it's going to last in your knitted thing. So what am I knitting out of this yarn? I am knitting my pelerine. So last year, for knitting camp, a whole bunch of us kind of took a pledge, and we were all going to knit the Elizabeth Zimmerman coat, that kind of big garter stitch coat. And that was like really a lot of fun. So this year, or last summer at knitting camp, a lot of us became really enthralled with the pelerine, which is another Elizabeth Zimmerman little garment. It's, so it's been around for a long time. I don't know why, kind of none of us became enthralled with it before. Maybe there were some that did, but so anyway, I will show you. This picture is off of their website. It's this like a little kind of, it can be like a little kind of poncho or a little kind of cape. They call it a pelerine. So they have kind of two versions, and they have a pattern that they like newly like put out as a separate pattern, but I think it's in Knitting Workshop. It's in the Spun Out collection. It started out as a wool gathering, but there's kind of two versions. There's one that has it's all connected, so it's kind of like a poncho, and they show that in like an all over lacy stitch. And then there is another version that's kind of three-sided, that and that's the one that, like, I know I tried on last summer. It's this one with all the garter, and this one is made out of kind of like one wheel of unspun of different colors. And it was Tammy, who works at Schoolhouse Press, knit this. It was the very first thing she ever knit. And I remember at camp, when the years that she made it was one of the years I was there, and she kind of, did the show and tell little runway thing, because she never knew how to knit. They hired her, and like, you're working for Meg Swanson, I guess it's a good place to learn to knit. And so that was the first thing she ever knit. And it's so that one is open in the front, and that's what I put on. And I thought it was out of the unspun Icelandic, which is single strand, feels really light. You hardly feel like you're wearing anything, but it's really warm. And I just thought, oh, this would be like so perfect to wear. So I want to actually make one like that in the all garter, just using up leftover unspun, because I always have extra, a wheel here or there, or I'll buy a couple wheels like that I like the looks of, or I'll make like a little hat at camp, and then I come home with the rest of it. So I bought this green kind of gradient at camp last year, and I thought that's what I want to use for my pelerine. I'm not going to show it up like close, because I'm really afraid of like stretching it out and it coming off of the needles. I can frog or pull out the unspun Icelandic, and it works out okay. I can do that. This is like, I don't want to be backing this out, or at all. That's how much more fragile it feels. But anyway, I love how this is working up, how this gradient is working up. It's just a really, really gradual kind of look. Even with my hand spun loop bumps, I get sort of a line where it kind of switches from one color to the next, where this is just so very gradual. I really like it. I am putting in there a stitch pattern from this big book, which is called the Haapsalu Shawl, which is a book from Estonia. It's a big kind of stitch dictionary. It's got like just on each page a different stitch pattern, and the one I am using is the willow leaf pattern, which looks like that. And I am enjoying it a lot. So this is kind of the basket. I'm trying to get through one of those like stitch patterns, which is kind of one like leaf, and it's getting to the point where even if I like work on it, like yesterday I worked on it all day long, and there's getting to be so many stitches that I barely finished one repeat. So it's going to be like slower progress. I have a ton of yarn though, so I can make it as long as I want, really. What I showed you with picked up the one that I'm using, that's from my first wheel. So I had four total. So I think I have plenty of yarn, but I'm enjoying it, and it's that pretty green color. I don't know. So I'm doing the green mittens and the green. Anyway, that's what's on my needles. So for off the needles, I have a finished project. I have a finished Rona to show you. I am so pleased with how it came out. I finished it maybe Tuesday night or Wednesday, and I know I laid it out to block. It took a couple of days to dry, and this morning I wanted to wear it. It was a beautiful day, like the perfect weather to just kind of wear this for instead of a jacket or a coat. And I have this green dress that I'm wearing, which matches the bottle green, like perfectly. And then yesterday I thought, okay, well, if I'm going to wear that, what shoes am I going to wear? It was going to be vlog appropriate weather. And I found that I had the little boots that I bought from Amazon last fall were like the perfect match for like the purples and things in it. So I did take a picture, kind of, I don't know how much of it is going to show up, so I will like try to put that in there, but I can try to stand up, but it's kind of dark. But anyway, this is how it looks. This is how the sleeve shaping turned out. So anyway, this is I am really, really pleased with how it came out. Just the last couple things, I know I've talked about this a lot. I talked about it a lot last week. When I did, and I remember I was running kind of short on the green. I ended up with this tiny, tiny little ball of green left. So it made it, at least. But when I was doing the cast off, I was running short on the green, so I didn't know if I wanted to do the I-cord thing like I usually do. And I also was thinking I should do something different than just I-cord around it. To cast on, I did like a German twisted cast on, which leaves a really nice kind of solid edge. And so I thought that's what I kind of wanted to do And the pattern calls for casting off in pearl. I didn't like that because then you got a little blip of this kind of berry color. So what I ended up doing was casting off with a double strand of the green, which I know I was running short, but I just had faith. I cast on with a double strand, and I did it in kind of knit and purl, so that I knit over those the contrasting colors, so I wouldn't get a blip. And it just made it a nice kind of thicker edge that kind of matched the cuffs, and it also matches, because I did the it's not showing at all because it's so dark. Let's see if I can. Oh, that made it darker. I will try to. I took another picture too, so maybe I will try to put that in. But I picked up the stitches for the band in the green, in the dark green, and then I cast off in the dark green, and I think it makes it a nice kind of balanced look to the band. So I did all of that. The other thing that I don't know that I've ever talked about, or if I did, it was like way early on, but there's a few like rows where it goes from, like, where can I like show you, like it, this is the green of this Peary has a solid line, and then the first row of this next band, and this one too, this first row of this band is like a dark blue. So there's like 3 or like 2 rows in a row that are just a solid color. And because I didn't want, the rest of it is stranded, so it has the 2 strands. I didn't want there to be sort of a difference in how the fabric kind of felt. I wanted it to be double strand all the way through. And so, I don't know if this will show, it is completely, so when I came to one of those rounds that was like a solid color, instead of just using one strand and kind of knitting around, I did strand. You had 2 strands connected, both the same color, so like both the dark green or both that kind of gray mist or whatever, and alternated, like I think two of one yarn, 2 of the next, so that all of it that is stranded. There aren't any rows that are just a single strand. I could show you this too. This is how my steek turned out in the inside. Anyway, it's done, and I'm really happy with it. It's a very warm sweater, so I am going to go take it off now, and I'll be right back. In spinning news, I spun a little. I really did. And it's nothing that I talked about that I was going to start to spin, but it is something that I have talked about probably every year that I've had the podcast in February. I bought these, I want to say maybe 2008, maybe-ish. And what these are is Loop from, or Steph from Loop. Before she did kind of those bullseye bumps, she did these really big kind of art yarn kind of bats, and they were called the Seriously Spontaneous. And then she did kind of little ones that she called baby cakes. And so that's what I have here, and I've shown them. I've opened these all up, but these were like a set she did for Valentine's Day, and it was, at the time they were kind of hard to come by. Her stuff went like, super fast. And so these were little bats that I think there was like a pre-order for them. They have all kinds of different stuff in there. And every year kind of I think, oh, I should spin those, because they were like Valentine's colors, and you could order them with kind of pink and white or mostly red and all of that. And then they came with these little like bag with these like great big heart sequins. And so I always thought, oh, I should spin those. But art yarns are kind of not my forte. and I didn't want to sort of, wreck them. I didn't quite know how I wanted to spin them, so I, you know, didn't think I would, or else, it got to be really late, and I think, oh, I didn't spin those again this year. So I saw them kind of the middle of January and thought, I need to spin those this year. But I was sort of waiting for Rona to get finished because all of them have so much glitz and sparkle and Firestar and all of the stuff that I didn't want it to get knit into that sweater. And so when I finished the sweater and, kind of got it back into a different room where it was blocking, I took these out and I've got two of them spun up already. And I just took a picture, and I have the wildflower on my Joy. And so I don't know if it's going to quite kind of turn out. I wasn't sure, should I take a little bit off of each one and then, spin them like that, or should I spin like all of one and then all of the next one? And I just thought, I'm not going to really know until I actually do it. But what I do plan to do, I think I might take like this one that is all red, or maybe this pink and white. I don't know. I have to look, like, open them up a little, because some of them have like the really, really things that make it textured. But I thought of, like, if I did the red one and spun that to like a really skinny single and use that to ply with all the rest of them. I'm trying to just kind of let things go and let it be textured and let it be thicker. And but I thought if I like ply it with that red instead of getting like a red thread, because I do want to put the sequins in there. So just make this kind of wild and crazy skein. I don't know if it's going to turn out like I really like picture, like I want it to in my mind, but at least it will have been spun. That is my thinking. So anyway, spinning actually happened this week. Yeah. So that is my whole show. It's probably a little bit longer than normal, but I had so much stuff to show you. I don't know that I'm going to show kind of the bohus every week, because I do want to get where I, like work on it consistently. But I don't know that like progress is going to really show up. So I think I might do, kind of just like the first Sunday of the month, kind of show where it is. And hopefully by the first Sunday in March, I will have, considerable more progress. I will be working on the body somewhere. But that's another reason why I have to get that needle fixed, or, exchanged, because this is the needle that I always do my sleeves with true circulars, and this is the size I use. So I need to get that one replaced. But that is all that I have for you this week. Like I said, I'll be giving up Instagram for Lent. I don't know if it'll be kind of all social media, or I want to kind of get, like, that's a big chunk of time, and I have been trying to scale back through the month and just kind of look at it, like maybe a couple times a day, but I just want to see what happens if I can actually, just not, go on there at all. I'm not a big Facebook person anyway, so I don't know. So you might not see me around many places, but I do still intend on doing the podcast every week. So I will be putting it up on the blog and into iTunes. And for now, I'm going to keep putting it up to YouTube. So anyway, so it's the podcast you can watch on iTunes, and for now, YouTube, and the blog, which is heartlandknits.blogspot.com. And yeah, until I see you next week, From my heart to yours, happy knitting.